Okay, so we have cleared our image here. Hopefully, we've made a little bit more sense of what is. Whoop, that was a mistake. One moment. Hopefully, we can make a little bit more sense of what is up here. So, this undifferentiated, unbeginning, unending oneness. And we'll represent it as light because that's maybe the best way to conceptualize it in what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to do a riff on Plato's cave. So this is not going to be exactly as Plato said. I will keep some elements. So Plato had a screen and he had little people. These little people. Well, these are not little people, I shouldn't say. They're just normal people. But they've been in shackles their entire life and have been forced to stare at this screen. So they've been watching this since their birth, and they think this is the real world, and that's all they know. So the situation's not great, but that's all they know. I'm also going to keep the little wall, and in the Course in Miracles, it's best to think of this little wall, and they'll refer to it as the altar. So on this altar, we're going to have a little screen. So in Plato's cave, there is a procession of people behind here that are taking shapes that are ideas from the world up here, up at the very top. They're ideas from this world that are being pushed or shot onto the screen. And there's a fire back here that's casting light that shows onto that screen. And that's how what the three people here, that's what their reality is that screen. So this altar is what I'll call it, is having that same situation as we've seen in the mummy picture, where there's a mirror here. This mirror is very important, and we'll call it mind for the Course in Miracles. So light hits mind. It is put through a filter, though. And this filter is, how are we going to make this look really important? Let's do it like this. Let's make it red. So this filter is very, very important because it holds those images that we were talking about. Instead of shadows, we'll just use it as sort of a running film. Obviously, Plato in his time didn't have that analogy, but that's probably a more apt analogy for what we're talking about here. So that is the most important thing we got to talk about. It's because on this altar, there is something that is changing the light that is going into this screen. And there's also light being reflected into, like those mirrors in the other room, into all these minds. And there's an interplay. And I'd like to really get into this, but I can't right now. But there's an interplay between these two forms of light that happens, and then it's all on this screen. And these people's like virtual reality think they're in this world, and then this is what is important. There's a whole story that goes beyond this for Plato's cave, but this is what I'm going to ask you to see is what they're trying to get across in A Course in Miracles. This is the world. That's what they're saying. What it's saying is mind being reflected through this film, and this film is what we want to remove because it's projecting onto the world these images. I'm tempted not to go a little further into this. So this in the Course in Miracles is perfect. It is a extract of this. It is perfection itself, but it doesn't think that it's perfection. So try to just let go of the ideas of people and how ideas are formed for now. But it's perfect, but it doesn't think it is, and it thinks it has many problems. And where it puts its problems is on that screen, so that it's projected outside of itself. So it doesn't have to see it as part of itself. So this screen has these negative images that we see doing all these bad things to these people, and and being part of the world that we can't help. This guy is, let's put a little knife in his hand. He's going to attack you. You in justifying your own position and wanting to defend yourself can't attack him then, because he's trying to attack you. But what the Course in Miracles is trying to advocate is we have to go back here. We have to go back to unified mind, and we have to understand that this is not true. This screen is untrue and is a mistake. The beliefs that are represented in it are a mistake. Like we say, this is perfection. It is part of this. There's no way to change how this is the constituents of this perfect light, and we are part of that perfect light. So that's as far as we're going to go. But this is how we're going to make a lot of sense of some of these first lessons. Okay, so with that in mind, this starts to make a little bit more sense. So it's not so hard now to think of our three guys, and that nothing that they see on that screen means anything. It is more a representation of that film that we're trying to prove is not true. It's showing us images that threaten us, that make us scared, but we have to worry about, but we have to consider ourselves that perfect light that came into it, that is the source of all the images that these people see. That's hopefully going to make this make a little bit more sense. So, your job today, first day, easy day. You only have to do this 2 times, and ideally you'd want to do it in the morning and the evening, but it's not essential. Also, I would like to say that when you do this, try not to make a room full of people, have a room full of people that you don't want to say that they do not mean anything. You don't need to do the hardest jobs right off the bat. We'll get some of these concepts a little more solidified first, and then you can really challenge yourself, but let's just keep it light and easy for the beginning. So nothing in this room, on this street, from this window, or in this place means anything. So obviously they just want you to choose one of those 3, whatever is reality. So we'll say that our reality is this bedroom. So the idea being, say you're sleeping on your bed, and then you just pick something very randomly and just say, this lamp does not mean anything. This window does not mean anything. This lamp does not mean anything. This chair does not mean anything. And you're just casually going around the room and just saying that these things do not mean anything. You can even look at your own arm and say, this arm does not mean anything. The tendency here is to become too ritualistic and just go across the room very sort of mechanically and just say, this is the, like what I was starting doing. But the idea is that you're going to try to do this as relaxed and detached as possible, free, light, confident if you want. I think it's always important, but just do it in a way that it just feels very calm, relaxed, and it's very short, maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes of doing this around the room. And by the end of it, the feeling you're going to hopefully gain from it is peace. And you won't be able to explain that peace, but it's real. And it's the effect of what you're doing. If you're not feeling peace, it's because you're experiencing fear, and maybe you had somebody in the room that you didn't want to say that about. And that's fine. I mean, we'll have 2 opportunities at this today, and these concepts will be reinforced a lot in the future. So take it free and easy. Try to make it just flow effortlessly. But don't be too hard on yourself either. All right? That's day 1. You did it. All right? So we'll come back, and we'll hopefully have day 2 coming up really quick here. Thank you.